Good morning.
Yes. Who's ready for this one? The almighty Zero FG. By the way, this bad man was my guest the last month session. Mixcloud.com/10 if you missed it. Welcome the Chatbox crew. Pick up to my man, Mr. Joe. Is he Snaffle? Is he Old Bucker Slot? Pick up Rockeston. Big shout out to Boogie Buttons. And of course, pick up to my guest, Bob Project. Man is over there. The after today. I am feeling hot tonight. So that I can turn on first. Put it on the beat in the heart. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Baby, are you up on it? I am feeling hot tonight. So that I can turn on first. Put me on the beat in the heart. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Someone. has been produced by Eyesight. This tune has been produced by Warwick.
Okay, now, whoa.
Mental. This one, King George on the production. This tune is called Burden. That's the VIP. Big shout out to Livingstone in the chat box. This one, Xander, on the production. The next one, Hamdi of the Buttons. This one is called Walk and Club. This one, SPD. Big shout out to my Eat My Beat family. This one, the last one for the first segment. Are you ready for the Parts Project? Don't expect any kind of generic DJ mix from this man. It's more of a live thing. which was performed using an Octatrack, a Digitact, and TR8.7.S, sorry, TR8.S, a black box, MIDI fighter, twister, and an old Stanton DJ mixer. It's all sounds coming from samplers and from a drum machine. Are you ready for that? Fresh, unheard music for the next 45 minutes or something. Please make some noise for Parts Project.
Sounds of the Parts Project. Exclusive recording for the FOB show. Sub.fm, where bass matters. To Arez. Shout out to North Coro Massive. We got the Discord crew. And yes, you are listening to the Fresh Off the Boat show. Myself, Bonzero hosting. But right now, that's Parts Project. Blasting his fantastic sounds. Parts Project on fire. Oh, and welcome to Good Vibes in the chat box. Tell a friend to tell a friend. The FOB show is on, and Parts Project is killing it right about now. shout out to Kokol from Good Vibes. Big up Livingstone. Feeling the set, obviously. Sound of the Parts Project.
This lady, she's wants me to pay for her phone, update her phone. No.
my guest is doing. Follow him on partsproject.bandcamp.com and also on soundcloud.com/partsproject. A real sound wizard. Don't forget to check my socials. Thanks to linker.ee/bond0.
Twenty-four to 6.
So much
Oh.
energy.
Got paint around here.
Project.
Yeah.
Shout out to my brother Chong Sinka. Welcome in the chat box. The Batman Parts Project in the mix right about now. Hope to experiment this on a dance floor one day. Pretty intense. Parts Project, Batman.
she's actually asking, begging, give me money, give me money, give me money. She said, why, baby? Why, baby? Well, baby, it's like this, you see, baby. You're no baby if you keep asking. You're probably black. You're probably a bloke. You're not getting nothing.
Shout out to Meerkat. Welcome to the chat box. You're listening to the sounds of the FOB show. Right now, Parts Project on fire. Last few minutes for this badass guest mix. Don't go anywhere though. The show is not over yet. Right after this, I'm back on the selection. The F, the O, the B. Give thanks to the Parts Project. Don't worry if you missed the beginning. I'm recording as always, and the podcast is coming online pretty soon. Right now, myself, Ponty Road, back on the decks. Caliber incoming. This next tune is called Jack Russell by Mr. Mitch on the production.
Oh. Sarenga on the production.
one, my brother I on the production. This one is called Phase. It's out on tomorrow on On Form Recordings. Daniel Sound. This tune is called Crook. People don't only joyful. Turning the switch. Energy. Thanks to Nicky Nair on the production.
It's the beat. I hit it in my sleep sometimes, blur it in your so your peeps can stare at the rhymes. Real rhymes not to every hologram. Even when this country never swallowed the ham. He'd rather eat a sand.
Time for some bootleg.
I need some like a man's grand ballad. A lot of stuff happens that
This one has been done by the
snooze all hell.
the almighty,
Take it like
the one and only
break it
Guns.
Put it in the caddy buggy. Brother softy leather, flossing judgy. Always true when she told me daddy funked me. I'm like anywho, she's walking off the street without any shoes. I guess it's better than she needs to get home before she wanna hear the beat, but it feels and makes she drop. Sing it, bring it back to your laboratory while he's in the it's like a horror story. The mask is all the place now. The type case in it. He might be some type of goal. Looking for a chance to use the pipes like a crack hole. He said, blessed be the Lord, who believe any message upon a message board. So I got a bridge for the Lolo. Them type fiends go to the coco. Orange peel out for the hotel. Feel like he been going the whole year. Came home to old gear. It was this issue when he first shoot it. At least you get to sit in New York and curse stupid. I can work for the mic. After burning hands and lips. A lot of rappers ran in the bed in their whips. Just the other day in the dunya. Don't even go around.
Another bootleg, but this time that's Mob Killer on the production.
Use all together. The water song home book navigator. On the land, on the left, on the bend. 116 hours. With the whole education. One trying to get by, almost had the motion. If I wanted to rob him, I would have worn that. Even with the folks, you don't throw ass. Want I'm not wasting our fun out. You didn't see him dip into the 50-cent plug spot. We walk the town with space suits. Fucked up cut, but we still say it's space suits. Told the streets what you staring at. The soul cap opened up and said, why you wearing that? He said, oh, you want to snap? This space. The way you get everybody thinks this is a disgrace. At the farm gate, park, goes in. Speed, the MCs, nasty as nose here. He said, you should have been say so. Simple in cash and Argentinian peso. Where you go, my good man? Buy something nice for the scene. The police keep it moving, twice the speed. Consider that your clear warm loves are written to you express like airborne. Born, from a turn on the beat, and shout out that little word for the word on the street. The white quickly, the sick and mental hand style. Go mama with a chicken with the rest of damn wild. All he said is you nuts. You really had enough of poop butts and cool cuts.
Oh, it's lovely.
And I got a coupon. Johnny's restaurant, asked him for the great coupon. He said no, nuts on soy sauce. This ain't no barbecue, so we don't get no toy, boss. Uh-oh, girl, my thing is over. My mama thinks it's over again and King Cobra. You ain't nicer than me.
My brother, City One, incoming.
Oh. Wake and bake. I'm baked. I'm so baked, I can't believe it. Tomato soup.
Something a bit faster. Yuffie on this tune.
Oh, yeah.
This next tune is coming from Brussels. A young producer called The Fourth Kind on the production. Such a deep tune which is called Red Pill.
Whoa.
That is the instrumental version.
6:24. Do you want more? Come on, tell me. You got 27 minutes. That's 2 hours. 2 hours. Two hours of the real Stone Raver. Oh my God. Really? Banana. Oh yeah.
Now, a couple of tunes for this edition of the FOB show.
Yo, don't slip. This is it. Paradise shit. Take time. Hold on.
This big tune has been done by Jadron Blackmore and RSD. Big love to that man, Rob Smith. Legend.
What is this relentless finding? When I love the black man, when I feel friend, when I read that, set up your pressure in a dead trap, get over, we can't tolerate that. No matter what, like your blind, so they box when I read that. Them always stop you when I get down, and you can't tolerate that. In the church, I see the people that get down on them knees. Straight up and back to go, but then I tell you, just like this. What I think I don't know the music when you need with me. And I'm the music frequencies to which you like to break. Progress over, stressing, no breaking time. And you better close your eyes. You don't want to see me right. fighting. Jealousy, covetousness, and hate. Certain things we don't hate. I sit on your back, I will never do one them not straight. Then they think we can't tolerate. Protect your life and free your mind. And for them never demon die. But I'm very glad that I live my life and I won't let them take one smile. Black, break with us, break with the better. Set up your friends, you know the trap, guess what we can't tolerate that. No matter what, like your life, no they accelerate that. They want to stop you in the dark, and you can't tolerate that. Can't tolerate certain things we can't tolerate. We don't rate it. We can't tolerate certain things we can't tolerate. Women say, progress over stress ain't no person. Better if you know the right, if you don't want to the right, when the base friend, the base fight. The base fight, and it's not like to take some space in time. Better if you can find it, you can find it something. Better if you ready, you draw the line. What is the sweet and it's
This tune is called Victims. That's Paul St. Hilaire on the vocals. Big love to the California crew. To the Zam Zam Sounds family.
Get 17 of your mind. Let's set a space to strive. Let's make a road that will lead to the sky. Let it be all, but don't hurt your eyes.
The next one is Mad Beautiful. So I play it from the top. That's a collab between him and Framed.
That's cool, isn't it? That's better. Now, this is it, right? Okay. This woman, she's been asking for 10 quid or whatever it is, and I'm like, no. And it says there, I don't send any money, sorry. Send about all the ladies in the USA who keep asking for I think on my bank. And it says about the Jamaicans and Africans and all the rest of it. All like using ladies' pictures and saying about, oh yes, I love you. And when they say baby, so much. When they said baby all the time, baby, it could be a Jamaican. So be careful on the internet. Yeah. She might be real. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've shown her a couple of pictures of me and my family. There's this woman. There she is. She could be real. I'll show you this lady, right? But I said to her, get yourself here, and I'll take you out for coffee and all that, and buy you lunch and treat you and make you feel good and all that. But not until you get here. That's it. I'm not sending no money to no one. No. Yeah, you gotta be careful. Let's see what's my time.
Do you read the post office? I'd like to see these people come back to justice. People in their position being paid a lot of money, hiding the truth. Make them feel like I felt when I lost everything overnight.
And that scandal, on that situation, we've spoken to so many people on this programme throughout the BBC who are still fighting and whose lives are completely ruined.
It's astonishing when you hear these stories.
Yeah.
And the impact that it had on people's lives and what it changed.
The time now, 24 minutes to 7. There's a big fight going on. It's not on the sofa for a change.
Not yet. We have a few hours left.
We can get that. Yeah, exactly.
Time yet for that to happen, but definitely at Wembley tonight, it's going to be everyone. I think is going to be tuning in, turning their attention to it, because there's going to be this all British heavyweight title, world title fight that hasn't happened here since 1993 when it was Frank Bruno and Lennox Lewis back then. So yeah, it's really a moment of history, and also because it's going to be at Wembley, it's going to be outdoors. There's going to be more than 90,000 fans. I think it'll be a real kind of moment. Sure. And could be huge fireworks as well. We know the heavyweight division is certainly very hot at the moment with a lot of contenders there. And the fight tonight is going to be between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte at Wembley Stadium. And in a remarkably calm weigh-in on Friday, both fighters were a lot closer in weight than many expected. Fury tipped the scales at 18 stone and 8 pounds. That is 12 pounds lighter than when Fury was for his last fight against Deontay Wilder. But still, he was about a stone heavier than Dillian Whyte. There's been so much hype about this bout. 94,000 expected at Wembley, which will be a post-war European record.
Come on, UK! I'm so happy to be back here fighting at Wembley Stadium. And you people made it happen. You all made it happen. Every one of you has made it happen. I just want to say a big shout out and respect to Dillian Whyte and his team. Proper professional men, and we're going to give you a real fight. Don't doubt us. We're going to put a show on like no other before. It's going to be a war. Don't worry about that.
Well, away from the box.
And he's got his cap on back to front.
In the race for the top 4 in the Premier League. Manchester United, they travel to face Arsenal in the lunchtime kickoff. But one player United will be without today is Paul Pogba, who's been ruled out with a calf injury. The French midfielder limped out of United's 4-0 defeat to Liverpool on Tuesday, and interim manager Ralph Rangnick says it is more than likely that Pogba has played his last game for the club with his contract expiring this summer.
Right now, it doesn't make sense to think about that because, as I said, he won't be available for the game tomorrow, and most likely not for the other 4 upcoming games. And as it seems right now, he will not renew his contract, and I don't know, maybe the club or Eric will also not want to renew the contract. I don't know, but it's most likely that he won't be here anymore next season.
Yeah.
Championship Luton Town can move a step closer to a fairy tale return to England's top division this lunchtime. A win against Blackpool would all but secure their playoff place. Huddersfield Town will definitely be in the top 6. They secure their
I can't
playoff
stand football.
after a 2-1 win
I'm
against
not into
Barnsley
football
last night, a result which could see Barnsley relegated back to League One. There's been another world record crowd for women's football at Camp Nou last night. 91,648 people watched Barcelona's Champions League semi-final first leg win against Wolfsburg. That is about 100 people more than saw them beat Real Madrid in the quarter-finals. Barcelona, who are the defending champions, won 5-1. Very comprehensive there. That goal was the second from Norwegian international Caroline Graham-Hansen. Now, it's not been the best start to the Formula One season for Lewis Hamilton or Mercedes, and he faces yet another tough day today with the first sprint race of the season. Qualifying was chaotic in Italy. Alexander Williams caught fire and Carlos Sainz crashed his Ferrari. The latter incident ended Hamilton's hopes as before the action could resume, it rained and he was left stuck in the garage. So he will start from 13th with teammate George Russell 11th. Red Bull's Max Verstappen will start from pole ahead of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc as they look to secure positions for Sunday's Grand Prix.
Everyone's working really hard at the factory and then things just don't come together. It's disappointing. I think we underperformed as a team today. There are things that we should have done that we didn't do, and anyways, we'll work as hard as we can to move up in the sprint race. It's going to be a difficult race, but hopefully tomorrow's better weather-wise, and who knows, maybe we can move our way forwards.
Emma Raducanu's run at the Stuttgart Open has come to an end, beaten by world number 1 Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals. It was Raducanu's first ever match, remarkably, against a top 10 opponent, and she put up a good showing. But the informed Swiatek was too strong for her on clay, winning straight sets 6-4, 6-4. In the Women's Six Nations, Wales were thrashed 33-5 at home as France continued their 100% record. Laura Sansa scored 2 tries in a dominant first half for France, and they continued in that form after the break. French got a bonus point win at Cardiff Arms Park. They now sit top of the standings, and Italy will take on Scotland this evening. And then on Sunday, England face Ireland at Welford Road, and it will be an emotional match for one of their players, Emily Scarrett. She will get her 100th cap at a ground she visited often as a child.
I think if you were to write it out and kind of make it the best that it could possibly be, I think this would be the script. So I don't know who's writing my scripts at the moment, but I definitely owe them a drink or two, I think. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, we used to have season tickets there when I was growing up.
Then finally, there was an unexpected visitor to the Crucible during the defending champion Mark Selby's second round match. Have a look at this here. Because somehow a pigeon got into the theatre, flew down onto the table. Surprising
Young Wingtail's face.
Apparently very hard to get tickets, but not for this little guy here. Yeah.
That's bad.
They did remove him safely. I don't think I've gone up.
I think they just
pigeons.
shoo him off.
Yeah.
We've got John Virgo coming on later
amazing.
on. We're going to talk because he was commentating.
Yeah.
And I think his comment was, "What's that pigeon doing there?" And I was like, I don't think anyone can answer apart from the pigeon.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's the joy of commentating with something like that, isn't it?
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to chat to that a little bit later.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
6:42 is the time. Good morning to you. Dame Judi Dench and Sir Kenneth Branagh are 2 of Britain's most renowned actors, and now they're being honoured by the town that helped make them famous.
Yes, after decades of performing at the Royal Shakespeare Company, the stars have been granted the freedom of Stratford-upon-Avon, as Bob Huckenholt reports.
Another successful performance by Dame Judi Dench and Sir Kenneth Branagh. In Stratford again to unveil the newly restored Town Hall statue of Shakespeare, a feature for more than 250 years.
It's amazing. She's scrubbed up very well. It's
In its right place,
Yes.
all clean,
Yeah.
everyone to see and quite nice.
The statue was donated to the town by David Garrick, who was the Kenneth Branagh of his day. Garrick was the first person to receive the Freedom of Stratford in 1768, and only a handful of people have had that honour bestowed on them in the intervening years. Now Dame Judi and Sir Kenneth, stalwarts of the RSC for decades, have become the 7th and 8th people to get the same honour. The freedom allows them to herd sheep down the appropriately named Sheep Street. They duly obliged.
Well, I thought you're a natural sheep wrangler.
Yes, I think we're going to get trouble from the sheep board or whoever.
I think we can now put that on the CV though. Judi Dench, at Bond films, Shakespeare, sheep wrangling.
Find it very, very difficult to express quite what I feel because my family has been entirely involved with Stratford since I was very young, and I just love it here. I love it. I get very emotional about it. It's much better to ask Kenny.
We're very honoured. It's a place that's given us a lot of work, and that man, as Judy said, is the bloke who pays the rent. And we're very grateful to the place and the fella.
The presence of two acting icons brought in the crowds. Some made a special journey from abroad.
I came from Madrid, from Spain, just for seeing this. I knew that Kenneth Branagh was going to be here. Here's the reason why I like Shakespeare.
Wonderful. I wouldn't have missed it. Absolutely amazing. They're just classic, aren't they?
I think it's an excellent opportunity
Oh, it's
to review
amazing.
history.
That's great. It's
and also
wonderful.
honour a couple of well-known people who have done a great deal to promote Shakespeare over the years.
The restoration cost £45,000. Half the funds were raised by a 12-day sponsored reading of the complete works of the Bard. A wonderful way to kick off this weekend's Shakespeare
What about my
birthday
hernia?
celebrations. The first time the event has been held for 3 years. Bob Hockenall, BBC News, Warwickshire.
Yeah. Favourite actors?
Yeah.
Most beloved?
Most beloved, I think it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's now 6:45. St George's Day. Happy St George's Day to those of you in England. Susan is taking a look at the weather. Are we off to the beach today? Morning.
Well, Nugget, if you're going to one of the North Sea beaches, I think pile on the layers and don't expect much sunshine. I think the thing that we're talking about really for the rest of this month, that little bit of weather law that's normally April showers bring forth May flowers. Well, not very many showers around at all in the next 7 days. And so far this April, this is the critical bit, there hasn't been that much rainfall around either across the southern half of the UK. England and Wales are falling short by about 50% currently. So in the next 7 days, let's try and put some rainfall on here. Notice the scale up there. So you can see it colouring in blue behind me, but it is the lightest end of the blue, perhaps a few millimetres here or there in the next 7 days. And by no means a given, because what our model is picking up is showers that will get fed across the UK. So as I'm sure you already know with showers, some areas will see them, some spots will miss them. So for gardeners and growers, quite a critical time getting things going. We could probably do with a good dousing of rainfall. That is not in our forecast for the week ahead, and certainly not for this weekend. High pressure dominates across the UK, sitting to the north of us. There is a low to the south. It's been pretty messy across France and Iberia, courtesy of that. And the squeeze between the high and the low is giving us easterly winds for this weekend. And that is what's going to pull more cloud in to the sea coast beaches. Actually, quite a bit of cloud across England and Wales overall, I think, today. Should brighten, I think, towards the east, though, through the afternoon. Some of this cloud to the far north of Scotland could be a little bit more stubborn, but will tend to burn back to the coast. Easterly wind, however, at this time of year, particularly coming over the North Sea, quite a cool direction. Still, I think with some shelter, get up to 18 degrees in one or two spots. Along the length of the North Sea, though, 11, 12 degrees at best. Saturday into Sunday, this low still close by to the south, tracking across towards the Med.
will bring a risk of some showers into southern counties of England. But as I said, showers, not all areas will see them. Perhaps the southwest with the greatest chance through Sunday. Could see the odd one coming in off the North Sea to the northeast of England. But overall for Sunday, a lot of fine weather. If anything, perhaps a bit more in the way of sunshine across England and Wales, eastern Scotland picking up a little bit more cloud. Temperatures, well, we're still looking at the high teens in some spots. But on into next week, as the high pressure drifts further westwards, we switch round into a more northeasterly wind direction and things are going to turn cooler. But they will still be staying dry. So that's the outlook for you guys for the next few days. Some very dry and increasingly cool weather to come.
Okay, at least it's not raining. That's
We'll take
perfect.
better than
Yeah. Thanks very much, Susan.
Now, this week's on the film review, Anna Smith joins Jane Hill to discuss the latest cinema releases.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the film review on BBC News, and taking us through this week's cinema releases is Anna Smith. Good to see you, Anna. What have you been watching?
Well, if you're a Nick Cage fan, you're in luck. We've got The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, in which the actor plays a comical version of himself. Next up, Playground, which is a rather more serious Belgian drama about bullied children that takes place within a school. And finally, Happening, an award-winning French drama set in the 1960s.
And the title alone of your first choice is just so brilliant. Tell us more.
Well, I love the idea of this as soon as I heard about it. So two guys write a screenplay about Nicolas Cage, or a crazy version of him, and persuade him to star in it. The idea is that Nicolas Cage is down on his luck, or this version of him anyway, and he's ailing in his career. Things aren't going well with his family. He decides to take an offer from an eccentric billionaire played by Pedro Pascal to appear at his birthday party. So he gets paid $1 million to appear at this guy's birthday party in Mallorca. What could go wrong? Turns out the guy is suspected of kidnapping by the CIA, and Nick Cage must go undercover and help the CIA. Problem is, he's getting on really well with his host, and they have a great bond, and they have a bit of a party together, ingesting some substances. Let's have a look at the film.
Okay.
I'm tired. I could never live myself after that. So you let go. You let go. No, you get the hell out of here. You go. Honey? Oh, baby. Where's the come from? Oh. Yo.
We could have just walked around.
That myself.
What is going on?
It's very funny, I have to say. That is one of the funny scenes, but there are many. This is a movie which I was consistently laughing. And it's either doing crazy comedy like that, or very often it's riffing on movie cliches, and more importantly, Nicolas Cage movies. So if you are a fan of things like Face Off, on Moonstruck even, there are lots of references, some explicit, some not explicit. Even if you're not a fan, I have to say, this is just a funny movie about a Hollywood star having a bit of a bromance. It's actually quite a sweet buddy comedy in the end.
You reckon that's funny?
I was wondering, do you have to have encyclopedic knowledge?
You should have, yeah, it has.
It helps that he is a cult
Oh my
hero for
God.
film fans, and those are the people that are going to get the absolute most out of this. But still, I would say it's just a great comedy to watch in a cinema, laughing along with a lot of people. It's not maybe as clever as something like Adaptation, which Nicolas Cage starred in, or even being John Malkovich from the same director.
Right, yes,
But it's not that kind of intellectual kind of comedy, but it is very funny, meta, self-referential Hollywood comedy, and he is terrific at setting himself up in this.
Oh, well, that's good. He would need to be. Okay, interesting. Thanks, Anna. Well, my goodness, in the current climate, we all need something to laugh about, don't we? The second choice, my goodness, very, very serious, very different.
This is a very impressive, I think, debut from Belgian filmmaker Laura Wandel. It's set in a school. It's about a young girl who starts going to her own brother's school, and they have a very sweet relationship at home, and that's the impression we get. But at school, her brother won't speak to her. It turns out he ends up being bullied, and she is trying to protect him very sweetly from the bullies. She, being an innocent 7-year-old, thinks, I'll go to the teachers, I'll tell my parents. Unfortunately, this only makes things worse for her brother. And a very complicated and difficult dynamic ensues in the school, especially when she gets friends who don't want to speak to her brother. And it's one of those films that really takes you back to those school days and that feeling in the pit of your stomach, you know. And it's all shot from the viewpoint of the young girl, and you hardly ever see the adults apart from when they crouch down to her height.
Yes, and that's really interesting. And in terms of how it's made, it is really clever, as you say. And again, remarkable child performances. I mean, extraordinary. But, oh God, I mean, I just had a knot in my stomach for the entire film. And I got to the end and I thought, this is really clever, but I never ever want to see this film ever again.
Well, I have seen it twice, and I do think it was worth it for my job. It is traumatic, and it is one of those films
So
that, as a audience member, I probably would have hesitated to go, but I'm really glad that I saw it. And I think if it's a subject that resonates with you, you'll be interested in the way it's treated. And also, there's some real life applications here. I mean, the way that adults can bully each other, or nations can bully each other. I think there's possibly political allegory in there as well. So it's a very intelligent film.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a hard watch. I can't lie about that. In fact, it's upsetting. But no one wants to see children struggling, and especially in a school environment. And that's anyway clever, very very cleverly made, but tough. Film number 3 this week, Happening.
Happening. So Audrey Dubon, the director, actually French director, she was actually nominated for the Best Director BAFTA for this film. It's based on an autobiographical novel by Annie Ernaux, set in the 1960s, about a young girl who is a very bright student. She wants to become a writer. She's got lots of promise. She's having a good time. She goes to the doctor, and then she gets the news that she's fearing. Let's have a look at the clip.
C'est enceinte, mademoiselle. Je suis désolé.
C'est pas possible.
Je sais ce que ça représente pour vous.
Faites quelque chose.
Vous ne pouvez pas me demander ça. Ni à moi, ni à qui que ce soit. La loi ne fait pas de cadeaux. Toute personne qui vous aiderait risque de finir en prison, et vous avec. Et encore, si vous n'arrivez pas le pire. Tous les mois, on ajoute un nom à la liste de celles qui ont tenté leur chance, et elles meurent dans d'atroces souffrances. Vous ne voulez pas être de celle-là, croyez-moi.
C'est pas juste. Peut-être que ça ne tiendra pas, ça va pas forcément au bout.
Peut-être.
Oh my goodness. And that scene is so pivotal, isn't it? Because this is the early 60s, and watching it here in 2022, and the claustrophobia again. This woman has no way out because of the law.
Yeah, I think the writing is so brilliant in this, actually. There's a line where she says she's got an illness that strikes only women and turns them into housewives. And the predicament that she's in here is that nobody will help her. As he says, they could end up in prison. And I think that puts a real ticking clock in this film. I mean, it is almost a thriller because you're with her every step of the way, trying to see this rather desperate journey that she's on, which is, as you say, does have some modern day relevance, I think. And it's beautiful performances. Again, not an easy subject to deal with. But I found it very compelling to watch, and especially knowing that it's inspired by a true story.
Yes, it's a hard watch as a woman, and she's at university, and there are well, here we are, and you know, some of those women that she's in her literature lectures with are among those who are the least helpful to her. And you think, where's the female solidarity here?
This is the heartbreaking aspect of this film. Like, it sets it up as her friends. They're having a great time together. They have a lovely camaraderie, a lovely bond. And I felt that, you know, what this film was saying is that the law was turning these women against each other and making it so that they couldn't even help each other. And it ends up being a film about loneliness, I think. A very social young woman is ending up with nobody to turn to. It's very powerful.
Yeah, powerful is the word, isn't it? Very, very powerful film, and of its time. You know, this is in the early 60s, isn't it? So Yeah, really interesting film. Yeah, two quite claustrophobic films actually in a row there, but very, very striking. So, best out.
I've gone for something a bit lighter now. The Lost City. So this is Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum in a kind of Jungle Cruise style adventure. She's a romance novelist who's kidnapped and he goes off to save her. He's actually her cover model, who's a lot less intelligent than she is, and kind of ambles after her in a bumbling style. A lot of comedy ensues, various bits of action, and Brad Pitt makes a very funny appearance.
Oh, does it? Okay.
He does.
I haven't had a chance to see this yet, but from what I've seen a few clips that I just left me bemused, really. I thought, oh, I quite like Sandra Bullock, but I thought, I have no idea what it's really about, what's going on.
The plot isn't the main thing, it's more about the comedy, let's face it. But if you enjoyed films like Romancing the Stone back in the 80s,
Oh, yes,
that
yes,
kind of
yeah.
smart kind of repartee between this warring couple, that works. And also that it sort of gender flips some of the cliches in that. So, you know, she's the smart one in this one.
Yeah.
And Sandra Bullock being Sandra Bullock wearing an incredible catsuit, you know, what's wrong with that? She's very funny and yeah, very enjoyable. It's a light watch, but again, if you want something that is a bit of escapism in a glamorous location with a steady stream of laughs, I think The Lost City's got it.
Yes, well, it takes us back to where we started. We all need something to make us smile at the moment. And DVDs and streaming, there's a really interesting choice this week.
It's now on movie is Drive My Car, which was a tremendous film. I think one of the films of last year, the Japanese film that won the Oscar and the BAFTA for Best International Feature. An extraordinary story, really, and to cut it short, it's about a female chauffeur driving around an actor and director. But there's a lot more to this film than that. As you know, it's about grief, it's about family, it's about loss, it's about coming to terms with communication or the lack of communication that we have with the people close to us. Fascinating film.
I thought it was a really clever, striking film. I loved the way it was filmed. And I'm not going to help now, so I don't even almost know how to describe it, but there's something very calming about watching it, even though there's a lot of visually calming, even though there's a lot of turmoil in his head, and as you say, he's dealing with grief. And I went into it as people might, because it's very, very, very long. I'm thinking, oh gosh, this is long. But goodness, it doesn't feel it. Yeah, it doesn't feel it, and that's a testament to it as well, I think.
Definitely 3 hours. This is one of the few 3-hour films that I say I'm glad that I watched it, and every minute of those 3 hours. And I think it allows it that leisurely pace that you're talking about. You know, that means that you're drinking it and you feel very comforted by it, and you're just totally invested in it.
Yes, really, and great performances. Really, really, really beautifully made, isn't it? Really, it's a curious film, but really, really interesting, I think. Good to see you, Anna. Thank you very much indeed. A real mixed bag today, and that's always a good thing. Thanks very much for being with us. And enjoy your cinema going, whatever you choose to go and see this week. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Mario Manchetti and Ben Thompson.
Our headlines today. Calls for the United Nations to intervene in the war in Ukraine and help evacuate tens of thousands of people from the besieged city of Mariupol.
The parents of Madeleine McCann welcome the news that a German man has been formally made a suspect over their daughter's disappearance 15 years ago.
After the final bid to win support, Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen urged the people of France to get out and vote in tomorrow's presidential election. Good morning. In sport, there is a blockbuster night ahead at Wembley as Tyson Fury and Dillian White get set to face off in your British World Heavyweight title match for more than £90,000.
Photos of a trip to the beach to mark Prince Louis' 4th birthday. The pictures were taken by his mother, the Duchess of Cambridge.
Good morning. It's St George's Day. A lot of fun ones have come for the UK today, but not just for today. It looks like that the next 7 days in July, looking into April. More details though on whether you may catch one of our very elusive showers in the next 48 hours coming up.
Good morning, it's Saturday the 23rd of April. The United Nations is being urged to step in to help evacuate tens of thousands of people currently trapped in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol.
The country's Deputy Prime Minister told the BBC an evacuation would only succeed with the United Nations' help. The head of the UN is due to meet both President Zelensky and Vladimir Putin next week.
President Zelensky claims that Russia intends to invade other countries, as Simon James reports.
Under attack, Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv. Russia's assault is intensifying. The dangers are clear. Despite the destruction, some residents are determined to stay.
We are going to fight. The fight is no needed for the
Fresh attempts are being made to get civilians out of Mariupol. 100,000 people are still thought to be trapped there. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister says the evacuation will only succeed with the help of the UN.
The UN right now just observes what is happening in Mariupol, and if the world unites and demands that this evacuation happens, only then it can happen.
To try to halt the fighting, the head of the UN will travel to Moscow on Tuesday for talks with President Putin before going to Kyiv to meet President Zelensky on Thursday. There is a mood of urgency. These satellite images are said to show a second mass grave discovered on the outskirts of Mariupol. This family, who've made it to safety, say they walked for 5 days to escape the conflict.
We will never forget what happened. We cannot. But we need to keep our spirits up and raise our children.
Russia says it has captured an arms depot in the Kharkiv region containing thousands of tons of ammunition. The UK says it's considering expanding military support to Kyiv by giving Poland tanks to replace those Warsaw is sending to Ukraine.
We're also looking for what we can do to backfill in countries such as Poland, who may want to send heavier weaponry to defend, help defend the Ukrainians.
And the Ukrainian president has welcomed another UK commitment.
I'm grateful to our British friends for the important symbolic decision announced today to return the embassy to Kyiv. The United Kingdom became the 21st country to return the diplomatic mission to our capital. And this shows that we're not the only ones who believe in the victory of life over death.
Russia has for the first time admitted that at least one crew member died when its Black Sea flagship Moskva sank last week. 27 others are unaccounted for. Ukraine says it struck the vessel with missiles. Moscow was blamed the sinking on a bar. There's claim and counterclaim. But President Zelensky says the attack on Ukraine is only the beginning and that Russia intends to invade other countries. Simon Jones, BBC News.
Our reporter Joe Inwood is in Kyiv for us this morning. Joe, morning to you. We were talking about this yesterday, the idea of safe passage and how these safe corridors haven't worked really. Is there any kind of, I don't know if this is a myth, I suppose, in some senses, light at the end of the tunnel for these people who are still trapped?
Well, as you heard in Simon's report there, Irina Vereshchuk, she's the Deputy Prime Minister, says that she thinks the United Nations is going to be the route out. There was some contradictory statements from her, actually, because yesterday she also announced that there might be some hope for a humanitarian corridor today. And so there is an option other than the United Nations, it seems. And we've also heard from the City Council this morning via their Telegram channel that at 12 o'clock local time, that's 10 o'clock in the UK, there could be a humanitarian corridor being opened, some buses coming out. But as we say, we've heard that before. We'll believe it when we see it.
And in terms of the feelings, we were talking about this yesterday, that feeling of resistance still continuing. We spoke to Vladimir Klitschko, actually, his brother, of course, was just saying that, the resistance will continue. The feeling's still there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I may have said this yesterday, but defiance, resistance, that is the feeling, the phrase that characterises the response. Ukrainians are up against an overwhelming military force in some ways. Certainly people assumed they were, but they've overcome it time and again. The resistance, the place where we have seen the sternest resistance is in Mariupol. Those fighters, we believe, are still trapped inside the Azovstal steelworks. They're certainly not surrendering, but the Russian tactics there have moved from one of assault to starvation. So it remains to be seen how long that resistance can continue. But elsewhere, for example, across the east in the Donbass, we've seen heavy shelling, heavy bombardment, but Ukrainian forces are holding on there too.
Great, thanks very much. For the moment, we'll say thank you for speaking the next hour. Joe Inwood there for us in Kyiv.
Madeleine McCann's parents say they welcome the news from Portuguese police that a German man has been formally made a suspect over their daughter's disappearance in 2007.
Kate and Jerry McCann said it reflected progress in the investigation and that they still hope to be reunited with Madeleine, who was 3 years old when she went missing on family holiday to the Algarve. Our correspondent John Kay said this report from Pride Deluge.
Her face and name are known around the world, but what happened to Madeleine remains a mystery. It was on the 3rd of May 2007 that she vanished from the McCann's holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, the moment her family's lives changed forever.
Please give our little girl back.
Portuguese prosecutors announced that they declared a new arguido, or formal suspect, in the case. It's understood to be this man, Christian Bruckner. The 45-year-old is currently in prison in Germany for rape and drugs offences. He's known to have been living in Portugal around the time Madeleine disappeared, and German investigators say mobile phone records place him in Praia da Luz. But he has denied any involvement in the McCann case and has not been charged. The last decade and a half have seen many potential breakthroughs come and go. Madeleine disappeared from her family's apartment while her parents were dining at a restaurant in the complex. And in the early days of the investigation, the Portuguese authorities made Kate and Jerry McCann official suspects, but that status was later withdrawn. In July 2013, the UK's Metropolitan Police reviewed the case, saying they had new witnesses and new evidence, and they searched areas close to where Madeleine was last seen. It was in June 2020 that German police said they'd identified a prisoner as a suspect, and the timing of Christian Bruckner now being made an arguido appears significant. Next month, it'll be 15 years since Madeleine was reported missing. And under Portuguese law, it's not possible for someone to be given arguido status after 15 years. But the authorities here say the move was not driven by timing, but by what they call strong indications of the practice of a crime.
So 15 years after the McCanns came to this resort on their holiday, Kate and Jerry McCann have issued a statement cautiously welcoming this latest development, saying it's potentially a sign of progress, and saying that they still have hope that one day they might be reunited with Madeleine. John Kay, BBC News on the Algarve.
Now, as the Prime Minister returns from a trip to India this morning, having moved a step closer to agreeing a new trade deal, things at home are still looking rather tricky for them.
Yes, the trip has been overshadowed by the controversy over lockdown parties in London. Our political correspondent Jonathan Blake is with us. Jonathan, good morning to you. So the Prime Minister says a trade deal is creeping closer with India. He's hailing that as a big post-Brexit success story, but nonetheless, there is still that controversy about those parties.
Well, and yes, there is. If the Prime Minister was hoping he would return from his trip to India, having reasserted his authority as Prime Minister, shifted the narrative so that everyone was focused on his efforts to get a trade deal with India and the UK's response to the war in Ukraine, and meaning that everyone had largely forgotten about the Partygate saga, then unfortunately he will be disappointed. Developments here have, to an extent, overshadowed the Prime Minister's visit to India. Nevertheless, he has tackled some substantial issues whilst there. I don't think he's returning necessarily to any mortal political danger, despite a couple of more Conservative MPs coming out publicly in the last few days saying that he should go.
Wow.
Chaotic scenes in Parliament.
You've been there for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Withdrew its attempts to delay a parliamentary inquiry into the Prime Minister's conduct. The fundamentals, if you like, are still the same. There isn't necessarily an obvious successor to Boris Johnson now, and most Tory MPs, I think, are still biding their time and waiting for the results, at least of the local elections, in a couple of weeks' time before making any moves.
Yes, absolutely. Jonathan, for now, thanks so much, Jonathan Blake.
Campaigning has ended in France's presidential election, with both candidates urging people to get out and vote tomorrow.
The poll is expected to be the closest ever runoff between President Emmanuel Macron and his far-right rival Marine Le Pen. Our correspondent Lucy Williamson has been following the candidates during the final days on the campaign trail.
It's a bit late for tips on how to land a punch on his opponent. After 5 divisive years in power, what Emmanuel Macron needs is to persuade voters who quite like to punch him to give him their vote instead. Florentine and Chloe are both teachers here in the suburbs of Paris. They voted for Mr. Macron last time. Now they've come to give him a hard time.
Le Pen is just huge disaster. But Macron's still disaster, I think, for school and for the service public, for public service in France. It's still step by step.
Chloe gets close enough to shout her question on teachers' pay. Do you think teachers are lazy? She asks. Through the scrum, Macron grips her hand and locks in her vote.
He gripped my hand and said, "We're going to do something about that, I promise. So I won't vote for him, but I want something in return."
There's a real choice on Sunday about where France is heading. Marine Le Pen is promising huge tax cuts and to take back control. Emmanuel Macron wants a global nation set on economic reform.
Divisions here are deepening with every election cycle, and voters are now split between two radically different views of the world, with one candidate presenting herself as the spokeswoman of the people, and the other saying he's protecting France from her.
Dylan says he voted far left in the first round of this election. On Sunday, he's voting far right.
C'est pas une idée que je me plais forcément. It's not that I like the idea of voting for Marine Le Pen, but we have to choose between the two. And when you're choosing between cholera and the plague, you choose the lesser of two evils.
At her final rally here in Arras, Marine Le Pen said voters should use her to block Mr. Macron. Both say the other is dangerous. Both sparked loyalty in their own fans and loathing in those of their rival. Most voters belong to neither camp, and in this battle over France's future, they're being asked to choose a side. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Paris.
A P&O ferry, which was held over safety concerns, has been cleared for sale by the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. The Spirit of Britain was one of the ferries detained after P&O replaced nearly 800 staff with less expensive agency workers in March. The NTA says another ship, the European Highlander, still has a small number of deficiencies which must be fixed before it's allowed to sail again.
New photographs of Prince Louis have been released today to mark his 4th birthday. The pictures were taken earlier this month by his mother, the Duchess of Cambridge. They show Louis, who is the youngest of William and Catherine's 3 children, enjoying a trip to the beach. They're smiling, holding a cricket ball while on a family trip to Europe.
It is Saturday, and of course on Saturday we're joined by our regular COVID panel with Chris and Linda. And one of the great things about that, which has proven since the start of the pandemic, is that when you in no question is too old to ask, because things change. Obviously, the testing availability of testing kits, that's changed. The way we test, the rules have changed, of course, in terms of whether or not you need to test, if you need to isolate, if you test positive. Do you have any questions? If you do, get in touch by email. We'll put them to Chris and Linda a little later, around 9:10, I think.
Yeah, all the ways on screen, BBC Breakfast at bbc.co.uk, or you can tweet us, just use the hashtag
That's great.
BBC Breakfast. We will pick up those questions.
I have a question for Susan, who's taking a look at that. Oh, lovely cows behind you. Susan, earlier you were talking about if you want to get out into the big art garden, and whether or not it would be good, in terms of working in the garden. And it just made me think, have you got green fingers?
Well, I like to think I have, Naga, but I'm never quite sure. I do like going out in the garden, but it is a bit hit and miss, and I think after gardening enemies, pigeons and slugs, Naga, take everything.
It's the slugs, isn't it? But
I'm feeding up the wildlife.
Exactly. I'm sure you'll have one success. You only need like one good recipe to make it.
Exactly. Going for the bulk, I think, is the only answer.
Good weather then for gardeners? Yes or no?
Good weather for getting on the garden, for sure, but actually I'm trying to get some stuff going at the moment, and obviously watering is the thing we're all having to turn to now, because it's been pretty dry for much of the UK so far this April. This is beautiful, beautiful Ballymena here this morning. Blue skies. The cows are lying down now from old wives' tales. That would imply there's some rain coming. I'm afraid that is not the case. We've been looking at this through the course of the morning. This is the rainfall predicted for the next 7 days, the rest of April. And yes, the map shades blue, but that's the rainfall accumulations, and they're very low, a couple of millimetres. And because we're only really going to get the odd shower, allowing us to see any rainfall coming across the UK. We've got no solid weather fronts coming in, no guaranteed spell of a good inch or so of rain for any areas. And that is because high pressure is sitting to the north of the UK. We also have to be a bit careful at this time of year as well, gardeners and growers with high pressure. It can just leave with light winds and close by to a tendency for frost. But actually, we've got quite a keen easterly wind at the moment, and that's been holding the temperatures up by night. That easterly wind direction, that squeeze in the isobars, is due to the high, helping us against the big area of low pressure further south across the continent. The easterly wind today pushing quite a bit of cloud across England and Wales, always keeping things a little bit cooler along our North Sea coast. Quite a bank of cloud to the north of the UK, as well as affecting the northern Isles of Scotland, drifting down across the narrow Firth. Course of the day in the sheltered western regions, though, you could see up to 15, 16, even 17 degrees. North Sea coast, well, we've got 12 and 13s on the map here, but perhaps just 11 in some spots. Overnight, isobars open up a little bit there. Lighter winds for eastern Scotland, and a few pockets of frost here first thing this morning. Could be the same story again first thing Sunday. There might be a little bit more cloud around here, holding the temperatures just above freezing. Certainly for Sunday, not a fine weather once again. Perhaps just a greater chance for a few showers southwest of England Sunday afternoon. The odd ones are coming in to the northeast of England. But overall, a lot of fine weather around to bring the weekend to a close, and top temperatures 16 degrees, and that high stays with us on into next week. The only real difference, I think, will be we could just start to pull in our air from a more northerly direction, so a slightly cooler thing, the feel to things as we go through next week.
Cooler but dry. That's what we actually.
Dry, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Susan.
It is 19 minutes past 7 now. Health officials are investigating more than 100 cases of hepatitis in children in the UK, which has led to 8 children having liver transplants since the start of the year.
Yeah, experts say it is increasingly likely that a virus which causes flu symptoms could be the cause. Let's speak now to Dr. Susan Hopkins from the UK Health Security Agency. She's with us. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us on Breakfast today. As we said, the investigation is currently underway, but do we know any more about what is causing this?
So thank you for asking me to speak about this. So we are seeing acute hepatitis, which is inflammation in the liver in young children, particularly in 1 to 5 year olds, with some small numbers of cases in the older children age group. That's the commonest infection that we have detected so far is adenovirus. And samples that have been tested for adenovirus in the last number of months, almost 80% of them are positive for this virus. This is a common virus. It causes 2 main types of mild illness in the main in children: an upper respiratory tract infection with symptoms a bit like COVID, or a gastroenteritis type illness, as with a bit of diarrhea, tummy bug symptoms. It's probably the variation of the strain that causes the tummy bug that is most likely to be implicated in the hepatitis, because there are different strains of this adenovirus around. But we are continuing to make sure there's not another cause, such as another virus interacting, not just COVID, but any of the other viruses that circulate in children. That there isn't an immune response change, such as the children haven't been exposed for a number of years because of the social restrictions that have been in place, and that's causing a different immune response. Or, of course, that the virus itself hasn't changed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, clearly still so much to investigate, as you said there. It's quite a complicated problem, isn't it? As we said, 108 cases currently under investigation. Put that into a bit of context for us. How many would you normally be seeing? And maybe a little bit about why this is so unusual.
Yeah, so the 108 cases are cases with children with the syndrome. And those cases are being reported to us by the clinicians directly for this special investigation. If we look at the transplants, that gives us a better, firmer number. So we've had 8 transplants in children aged 1 to 5 so far this year. That is out of sync of what we would normally see. That's more like a number we would normally see in a whole year. So that means that we are seeing 3 to 4 times the amount of that sort of very severe liver disease in this age group compared to what we have seen over the last 5 years in this age group.
And so you touched on all the investigations that are currently underway. People will be concerned about whether there is a COVID connection. Just elaborate on that. I know you've touched on it already, but is there a potential that these are linked? Could it be the same thing that is causing COVID?
Yeah, so first of all, we've done a number of things to look at this. So none of the children have been vaccinated. They're actually in the age group that are not yet recommended for any vaccines. So that's good. And so clearly no vaccine link. Secondly, we have looked to see how many children are co-infected with COVID or have had infection with COVID in the previous number of months. And at the present time, the numbers are they're present, but they look at similar levels of what we would expect based on the population survey. So we're seeing similar levels of COVID as in the population. So not seeing an out of proportion association with this hepatitis, and actually a much less number than we've seen with adenovirus. Probably overall, between 15 and 20% have been infected with COVID. We've also looked at those, we've got genetic sequences of COVID, and they're the same genetic sequences that we're seeing circulate in the population, so nothing changing. We're now also looking at the immune response to those that have had a COVID infection. We are seeing other virus infections as well in these children, so the normal viruses that we would see circulate in children of this age as well as part of the co-infections. So COVID just seems to be part of that rather than separate at present, but we will continue to look at it in more detail.
Good. It's good to have that clarity on that, because many people will be concerned this morning. And if you're a parent watching this, what should they be looking out for in their children?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is that, as always, we would recommend that parents, help their children perform good hand hygiene, especially if this is the one that causes the gastroenteritis illness. When they go to the toilet, make sure that they wash their hands afterwards, because that will reduce spreading it to others. The second is that we, like with anything, if your child is unwell with a gastroenteritis or a viral illness, make sure they keep them well hydrated and getting fluids into them, as much water as possible, because that toxins that might be associated with this. And finally, the particular symptoms that we're looking at in hepatitis, when you get to the point, is that you can get itchy skin, you can be off your food, so lethargic and not be hungry. And then, of course, the jaundice symptom, which is the yellow eyes, yellow skin, and the urine can become darker. Those sort of symptoms, you should call your doctor or 111 immediately and seek medical advice, because early symptomatic treatment, hydration and fluids can help prevent the jaundice worsening. The main things that we can do for things like adenovirus, though, are symptomatic treatments, keeping the child well hydrated and making sure that they are able to recover well.
Good practical advice, Susan. Thank you. That's Dr. Susan Hopkins, there, Chief Medical Advisor at the UK Health Security Agency. Thank you.
25 minutes past 7 is the time. Russian forces continue to bombard the eastern part of Ukraine in the southwest of the country. The city of Odessa has tried to restore some sort of normal life.
The Opera House there has reopened for rehearsals, and other performers have now found new ways to bring art back to life. Caroline Davis reports now from Odessa.
Surrounded by sandbags, Odessa's Opera House, the pride of the city, has stood empty since the start of the war, closed to visitors. Even the lights in its auditorium haven't been switched on for 2 months.
Wow, welcome to my home. Now, unfortunately, it's empty. Nobody dance here, nobody singing.
Pablo Koshka has been part of a small team that kept an eye on building.
This theater is the heart of our city, and this is heart of culture in Ukraine. I feel the big emptiness.
The opera's ballet troupe have returned to rehearse for the first time. But they don't have long to stretch. A practice air raid drill means they must head to the bunker. Yulia Tereshchuk had been preparing for the world premiere of a new Ukrainian opera. Now she sings to injured soldiers in military hospitals.
We need to end this war and then resume rehearsals and everything else. I hope that the fact that the theatre will work is a sign that the war is close to the end.
But across the city, cultural life is still locked away. In Odessa's Museum of Western and Eastern Art, the collections have been sent into storage.
Нам лишены коллекции, нет этой энергетической.
We are deprived of our collection. We've lost the thing that gives us life. I'm really trying to believe that in the future Ukraine will need me with all my knowledge and skills, and I can help rebuild Ukraine.
Odessa is still a city that's prepared for a potential attack, and many of the galleries and theatres here have no idea when they'll be able to open their doors again. But some are still trying to find a way of bringing art to the people here.
This performance of a Ukrainian play is dedicated to the military. It won't take place on the stage, but underground. The staging is complicated by the bunker's pillars, and the director has lost some of his cast to the army. But despite the logistics, he refused to give up on the production.
В останню чергу нам дуже to show that culture exists despite the war, and that our theatre exists, it lives, and that we are not afraid of anything. For us, this is fundamental.
In the chaos and uncertainty of war, keeping the small signs of normal life alive in Ukraine has become another act of defiance. Caroline Davis, BBC News, Odessa.
It's good to see some parts of normality returning. It's just coming up to 7:30. Now, there is something would you say it's historical, Sarah? I mean, I suppose it's been such a long time since we've seen a massive boxing event.
And an all-British heavyweight
Yes.
boxing. You know, when you think of boxing, you think of the great heavyweights. They're always, it's the best division, isn't it? It garners all the attention all over the years with the greats. And, there could potentially be, fireworks and another brilliant bout a little bit later.
But I think we've been so used to watching boxing bouts at weird times of night, haven't we? Weird times of day, because they've been overseas.
They've been in, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You're getting up at 2 or 3 in the morning. We've seen Anthony Joshua. He was fighting in Saudi Arabia last year. A lot of them, are in different locations, not really on home soil. And tonight for more than 90,000 boxing fans here in the UK, they're going to get to be at Wembley Stadium just behind us to watch this pair slug it out. Tyson Fury and Dillian White, hugely anticipated bout between them, an all-British heavyweight world title bout, and it's going to be pretty full of fireworks potentially. However, it was a really remarkably calm weigh-in on Friday. Both of the fighters were a lot closer in weight than people expected. Fury tipping the scales at 18 stone 8 pounds. That was 12 pounds lighter than when he was for his last fight against Deontay Wilder. But he is nearly a stone heavier than the WBC challenger Dillian White tonight. A lot of hype about this. About 94,000 expected at Wembley, which will be a post-war European record. Well, the last major heavyweight title fight in the UK saw Lennox Lewis beat Frank Bruno in Cardiff back in 1993. About 25,000 people were present on that night, and Lewis believes that this fight is huge and it can only be a good thing for British boxing.
It's a big thing for British boxing. I mean, last time I boxed Frank Bruno, it was in an outdoor stadium, and with the roar of the crowd, I still remember that. And now we're going to get it again with even more people in Wembley. This is going to be terrific.
Yeah, plenty more build up to that fight here on breakfast a little bit later, but to the football, because Manchester United are at Arsenal in the lunchtime kickoff. They need to win after a humiliating 4-0 loss at Liverpool midweek, and in their pursuit of Champions League football next season. Of course, defeat to the Gunners would leave them 6 points off fourth place with just 4 games to go.
I don't think that it makes sense to speculate about how likely it still is that we can finish fourth or whatever. It doesn't make sense for a performance like that at Liverpool. We just need to make sure that we play far better. Get the best possible team on the pitch, and then
7:31.
play in a different way with more
23rd of the
conviction,
4th.
with more confidence.
2022.
Championship Luton Town can move a step closer to a fairy tale return to England's top division this lunchtime. A win against Blackpool would all but secure their playoff place. Huddersfield Town will definitely be in the top 6. They secured their playoff spot after a 2-1 win against Barnsley last night, a result which also sees Barnsley relegated back to League One. In the Women's Six Nations, Scotland are in Italy as both teams hope to avoid another defeat and the tournament's wooden spoon. And Wales were thrashed 33 points to 5 at Cardiff Arms Park as France continued their 100% record in the tournament. Whereas Sansa scored 2 tries in a dominant first half for France. Continued like that after the break. They got the bonus point win to sit top of the standings. Now, it's not been the best start to the Formula One season for Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, and he faces yet another tough day today. The first sprint race of the season, and qualifying for it was chaotic in Italy. Alex Albon's Williams caught fire, and then Carlos Sainz in his Ferrari crashed out, and that latter incident ended Hamilton's hopes, as before the action could resume, it rained and he was left stuck in the garage. So he will start from 13th with teammate George Russell 11th. Buzz Max Verstappen will start from pole ahead of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc as they look to secure positions for Sunday's Grand Prix.
It was hectic, long qualifying, but of course at the end very happy to be here. You know, it's an amazing track, and it also really punishes you if you make a mistake. You know, you can go on the wall. So that's what we like, you know, to make it really hard and difficult. So yeah, very pleased, of course, with pole position.
Emma Raducanu's run at the Stuttgart Open has come to an end, beaten by world number 1 Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals. It was Raducanu's first ever match against a top 10 opponent, and she put up a good showing. But the informed Swiatek was too strong for her on clay, winning in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. Now, the initial findings from a pilot on safe standing in 5 English football stadiums suggest that it's having a positive impact on fan safety. Cardiff City, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham are all taking part in the trial commissioned by the government. Ken Scott is from the Sports Ground Safety Authority and can talk to us now. Good morning, Ken. I suppose firstly, just explain, Ken, how it works, how the seats and the railings work for this licensed safe standing.
Okay, well, we sought expressions of interest some time ago now from clubs that were looking to install barriers or seats incorporating rails. And the idea was that they would have to comply with 16 what we call early adopter criteria. Fundamental in that was that for the integrity of the competition, there should be rails installed for both home and away, and on the understanding that it was 1 seat for 1 standing place, so there'd be no increase in the overall capacity of the grounds. And the 5 clubs that we now are working with were those that came up and met all of those 16 criteria, and we've been working with them since the advent of the ability to do this from the 1st of January of this year, and will continue to the end of the season.
And Ken, if somebody's going to a football match, they're going to walk up to their seat, they're going to walk into one of these areas. So there's a railing in front and you have a seat and you can put that up or down, and that's not allowed to be locked, is it? So what have you found that having that has given football fans?
Yeah, I think the important part of keeping the seat unlocked is that this is safe standing in a seated area. So this isn't a return to terracing. And we do find during the half-time period that people do like to sit down to rest themselves. And the other important point is that we would like to think that through the smart sale of tickets, that those people who aren't able to stand for 90 minutes can still attend within that group of fans, but they can take seats towards the front so they can sit when they need to sit. And this would apply equally to children and families who maybe wanted to be near the front of the audience, the crowd.
Ken, what have you found then from these findings?
I think the good thing is that we found that they kind of reinforced the research that we carried out earlier, that the introduction of the rails has enhanced the safety of people who are standing in areas which frankly are not designed for people to stand in. So it's good that we found that it's reinforced our belief. The other bit, of course, is that we're finding out from the interviews with fans that it is enhancing their spectator experience. So they're very much enjoying the ability to be able to do this without the steward walking up and down and asking them at frequent intervals, would you please mind sitting back on your seat again?
Ken, thank you very much. We know it's an interim finding, so this pilot is going to continue. So we will wait on a decision, a full decision from the government. But Ken Scott, thank you very much for joining us there. Very interesting in terms of fans' experience and how it may change over the.
I'm lazy, so I'm really pleased that you can still sit down.
Yeah, there's
you know, you can, but I mean, you're not going to see much if everyone wants to stand. But I quite enjoy this.
Be able to use that bar in front to like pull yourself up.
You got 15 minutes.
It's also
I'll tell you what. If you look, right, I was live all weekend, and I was in the section unit, and I was left this place live, and it was crazy. Oh my God, 3 days. 76 hours, I think it was.
A decision down the line on what they do, because obviously there's concerns considering the history and you know, so there's an awful lot of kind of sensitivities around it.
Yeah. Sarah, thanks very much. Thank you. It may not have escaped your notice that spring has well and truly sprung, and the National Trust is celebrating by declaring today.
You can spring air if you want. Up and down, up and down, up and down, down, down. Yeah.
Is Anna Crystal from Quarry Bank National Trust. Anna, good morning to you.
Oh, hello,
Anna. And to see the blossom.
You look lovely.
Why is it so good this year?
I think we had a very mild winter this year and a really gentle start to spring. A little bit of frost in March, but we were really hopeful after a bit of a disappointing year last year that this year's blossom display is going to be really strong.
Anna, morning, it's Naga. I've got to ask, so what's that one? I'm useless at identifying blossoms. Cherry blossom I get, because obviously that's very common and it's pink. What's that one behind you?
This is one of our apple blossom trees. We're in the upper gardens here, and we've got one of our apple orchards, and it's one of our heritage varieties.
And you want this to be Blossom Watch Day. How do people get involved in this? And what do you need from people? Or is it simply just going out and just taking it in?
Yeah, so get out wherever you are. You've got blossom in your back garden, on the street where you live, if you're in the city, in the countryside. Take a photo and share it with us on social media using hashtag Blossom Watch. That's what the National Trust are trying to do, encouraging everyone, no matter whether you're a National Trust member or one of our visitors, to get involved and enjoy the beauty of blossom.
Indeed. And where you are now, what would you suggest? If someone came to visit where you are now, what would you suggest they could see?
We've got lots of wall-trained blossom in the upper gardens. We have got a Prentice House orchard, which is full of lots of heritage apples and blossom trees. But the oldest one that we've got is from 1883, which is a variety called Whittington Welter that makes, they bear really big apples, and you only need one really to make a really good apple pie. So yeah, I definitely say get to the Prentice House orchard and also down to the Riverwalk, where you'll see beautiful blossoms like really vibrant candy floss pink.
Does all the blossom come out at the same time? And this might seem like a very obvious question, but there is a danger, isn't there, that the trees look amazing and then it's a little bit windy and it's gone and it's a one-day wonder. So actually, is the season longer than just a few days?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So our first blossom came out here, which was an apricot blossom on the 1st of March, which is when this campaign started for National Trust. And really, it will carry on going until probably like June, July for the Apprentice House orchard blossom. And that's what I encourage people at home really to do, is if you're thinking of planting any blossom trees, think about buying species and varieties that will blossom at different stages, so you've got that beauty and interest in your garden for longer.
And what make ideal conditions, Anna?
Ideal conditions, pretty much like we've had so far this year. So a nice gentle winter with not too much frost and snow, and then a gentle start to spring. We did experience some frost in March, which did take a hit on the magnolias around the country. There were ferns a little bit brown, but the magnolias here at Quarry Bank fared really, really well. So like a little bit of shelter, and if needs be, we will cover ours up and protect them. But because the spring has been so mild and winter's been so mild, we've not needed to do that this year.
Well, enjoy it. It looks great. Anna, thanks for being with us. Anna Crystal there from the National Trust at Quarry Bank. Thank you.
Got any lovely blossom around where you are this morning? Send your pictures in. We'll show them off. bbcbreakfast@bbc.co.uk is the email. Of course, you can get in touch via social media. And it may well be. You blustery, you're concerned it's going to be too blustery and all the blossom goes.
I think it sometimes does that. I mean, it looks great.
Blossom goes off the tree.
Yeah, but you want it to last. Like my dad's got some amazing blossom trees in his garden, and they look great. And then it's a little bit windy. All over the other side.
Oh my god! After the blossom comes off, it is really annoying. And when pavements get really sticky from blossom something to water them. I think I got rid of it. I didn't say it was a problem.
Oh my god.
It does happen.
What are we going to have you about to blossom with Ben?
I don't know. It's his birthday. It's the George's
So
birthday.
George says, happy birthday, Ben, Dad. Sarah, morning. Is it going to be so blustery? What's that morning yesterday?
Oh my god.
Morning, you're spot on with the blossom going fast around by the winds after another. And the trees in my garden, it looks like a piece of paper in a wedding now. The ground is more kind of patterns down at the trees. And that easterly wind is going to be something that I think we're all going to notice through this weekend. There's some beautiful sunshine across parts of the UK at the moment. But also, it's these tropic banks of clouds looking across central England.
There she is again.
Even though we have the cloud, though, there's very, very little in the way of rainfall promised for the days ahead. Now, for the blossom, obviously, it's the rainfall that we've seen in the months gone by that's helped those trees to thrive. But anyone putting in any smaller plants at the moment, probably keeping a close eye on the skies. Next 7 days, the promised totals are very small. Many areas perhaps with a few millimetres at best, if they catch the odd shower. But it's actually not a given, because with showers, of course, some areas will just miss them altogether. But we're definitely very much down the lower end of those rainfall accumulations. And England and Wales have only seen 50% of their April rainfall so far. For the reason it's so dry, high pressure, which is sitting to the north of the UK, and that is keeping the dry weather largely dominant across the UK. There is this big low to the south, and it may well be the case that we get a few stray showers into southern areas through the weekend. But for the majority, the story is dry, and the air coming across from the east between those two weather systems is relatively cool off the North Sea. So North Sea coast today, perhaps a little bit more overcast, and certainly on the cooler side. We'll see a bit more cloud, I think, across the western reaches of England and Wales on into the afternoon. Further east, it should brighten. Some bigger cloud pushing into the Grampians, sitting across the Northern Isles. Down the North Sea coast, in the easterly wind, perhaps just 11 or 12 degrees. Further west, brighter, bit of shelter. We could go up to 18 as a high. Overnight Saturday into Sunday, there you go, just a risk of some showers across southern counties of England, but certainly by no means some given downpours. On into Sunday, again, we could get some showers. Most likely we're looking at the southwest of England, perhaps one or two in off the North Sea for the likes of Lincolnshire into parts of Yorkshire. But you can see a lot of dry weather. There's some sunny spells to be had there. Still some cloud bothering the northeast of Scotland and along those east coasts again. Temperatures scratching into double figures. Further inland, we're looking at highs of 15 to 18 degrees. Into next week, very little changes. This area of low pressure heads off towards the continent. We're still dominated by this high. The centre's running over towards Greenland. That shifts us onto the eastern side of the high. What that does is switch the wind direction around from easterly to a more northerly. So actually we start to tap into some Arctic air going on into the week ahead. Because it will be breezy and because we're later in the year now, the overnight frost risk should be fairly limited for gardeners and growers going further ahead into this week. But by day, certainly we're going to notice those temperatures sliding away. I think we're probably looking at the mid-teens at best in the coming 5 days. And as you can see, very, very little chance of rain for the majority of us. Susan, are they about average temperatures? Average is probably the mid-teens. So actually, by the time we get on into next week, we're sitting a few degrees below. We should be looking at around the mid-teens, 15, 16 quite widely across the UK for this time of year. So yeah, 11 or 12 is a little bit on the sad side. Okay, well, I'm sure it'll cheer up. Susan, thanks very much.
Headlines coming up for you at 8 o'clock, but now at breakfast, it is time for Newswatch.
Hello and welcome to Newswatch with me, Samira Ahmed. The BBC's Kyiv correspondent tells us about the challenges of reporting from a conflict zone. And is it accurate to describe Marine Le Pen as the far-right candidate in the French presidential election? The suggestion this week by Keir Starmer that Boris Johnson had criticised the BBC's coverage of Ukraine was angrily dismissed by the Prime Minister and later retracted by the Labour leader. It's a sign, perhaps, that while politicians are quite happy to attack the BBC on other subjects, the corporation's coverage of Ukraine is so widely respected that criticism of it is seen as beyond the pale. Particular praise has been given to the team of reporters on the ground in Ukraine, among them Kyiv correspondent James Waterhouse.
Below ground in our bomb shelter, the adrenaline has run out. People are visibly tired, visibly upset from everything that's going on. And when you come up, it's this, empty. And you can feel the tension. Moscow has urged people living here to leave as it lists new targets. But for so many people, that's not an option.
A former professional rugby player, James Waterhouse, only arrived in Kyiv for his first foreign posting in mid-January. Little more than a month later, he found himself covering his first war, and doing so with the approval of viewers such as Tim Gatt, who finds himself impressed how James Waterhouse is showing his adaptability to explain what's going on the ground in Ukraine on the BBC's different platforms, Breakfast TV, TikTok, digital videos for BBC Newsround and Twitter, always in a clear, personable and easily understandable way. And Marisa agreed, tweeting, "I would like to thank you and the BBC team reporting the atrocities of this horrific war. Every day it touches me, the calm and poised way James reports the events, living in a difficult and dangerous place. Stay safe." Well, James Waterhouse is currently in the UK and will be returning to Kyiv, and he joins me now. Thank you so much, James, for coming on Newswatch. Now, you have been a BBC reporter for a while, but it's your first time in a war zone. Did you feel in danger?
It certainly was a nervy time in the first few days of the invasion. When I arrived, it was a simmering crisis, but it was the speed in which war descended on not just Kyiv, but the whole country, the size of the advance. So we saw Russian forces moving in from the south, east and north. That really took everyone by surprise. And it was that huge unknown that was pretty difficult to deal with. Of course, it's dangerous, but it's about a personal level of risk which you're happy with. And we've got a high-risk team, a BBC team, that solely deal with that and our safety, which is the biggest priority.
And watching you reporting, seeing you're wearing your kind of protective clothing and so on, one wonders about what sort of training you'd had before going out there.
Yeah, so the BBC puts on a hostile environment course, and they carry out refreshers every couple of years. It happens on an estate, and they are actually quite good fun to go on. In a strange way, they talk you through first aid, how to deal with catastrophic bleeding, all the way through to dealing with military checkpoints and other hostile scenarios. But it's not until those lessons and those exercises connect with the real event that you appreciate them. And for example, when war descended, I will never forget the first day I ventured back out. And it was like emerging
back
from a long night.
Back in, back out, back in, back out, back in.
And there were military checkpoints, often nervy volunteers, armed volunteers who were eager to get your paperwork and find out where you were going. You could see they were searching your name on their phone. And that's when the training kind of kicks in. And all of a sudden, even just going out for a simple bit of filming requires a sizable risk assessment. It's no longer just a simple journey that we do in the blink of an eye in other environments.
In terms of reporting, obviously sometimes the Russians are reporting incidents very differently to how the Ukrainians are reporting them. How do you decide what to put into your reports?
You're right, it is very difficult. In war, there is also a war of words and a war of information. So you have to treat both sides with a pinch of salt, but it was the Kremlin that were doing the most twisting of facts. And a big feature of this for me, for this conflict, was what people were posting online. Telegram is the most popular platform there. So people were learning in the bomb shelters what was happening to their friends, to their relatives, to their hometowns, to other parts of the country in real time. And that's what we were seeing as well. And before the likes of me or other correspondents who open their mouths on camera. There's a lot of work to that point. We would get the latest from BBC monitoring colleagues who would look at the latest news reports coming from both Ukraine and Russia and put them into context. We would have a UGC, a user-generated content team, who would be verifying that footage. So we would learn relatively quickly what we could use with confidence. We would combine that with eyewitness accounts. So that in totality would give us a clear as possible picture before we could then go and tell it. But of course, it's extremely difficult, but you just simply revert to the core principles of our journalism to tell the story in the first place.
The Ukrainian president has been making these very powerful emotional appeals to the international community. Does it make it at all tricky for you to remain impartial?
No, I think we'd be working for the wrong company if we found that difficult. Of course, it's gut-wrenching to see what this war, and we have to be bright-eyed about this. This is an invasion of Ukraine by Russia, but it's our job. We are experienced in this. World leaders give impassioned appeals all the time, but of course, it was a distinctive part of this war where President Zelensky, he stayed put. Where many thought he might leave. He had his critics before this war, but he stayed in Kiev. He swapped his designer suit for his military uniform. That's one of many defining features of this conflict. From a storytelling perspective, our job's easy. You just convey what the Ukrainian, the democratically elected Ukrainian leader was saying as his country.
To a life-size snow globe to add to his prize-winning collection. Shouldn't the plan be to freeze all the people at the really important meeting of really important world leaders so Mad can take over? We're gonna do that too, but he's got this snow globe collection, and I know how it sounds, but anywho.
Bad break. Same time flying is a figure of speech. Same time snowboard isn't a figure of speech at all. Turtle jacket dogwood. Wowzers.
Did someone miss their beauty rest?
You're just boring.
It's been sliced, man. Time to say goodbye. Oh, you're really starting to tick me off. Get it? Tick me off? Like TikTok, like a clock?
Yeah, I get it. But it's lame.
Yeah, like you could be lamer, like your hair.
Oh, Talon!
What? Are you afraid that I'm gonna beat you?
No, I'm worried you're going to trigger the detonation.
I gave him one job. You know, one comes after 12. What a nincompoop. I need time to figure out what needs to be done. Oh, that's not what I meant.
A super special retirement watch. Drat. The hands are frozen. Bad dog. Mr. Clockmaker, before you run off, I'd fix my watch again.
Not at all. Here's the problem. The hands are stuck on the explosive.
It's a super special retirement watch. Go, Gadget Butterfly Net.
Go, Gadget.